Hello everyone, my name is Jamin. Thanks so much for visiting my channel. In this video, I have a Dell Precision 5510. I'm going to take you on a teardown or disassembly tour, show you how to open it up, get inside, and the various components you can access once you're in. So first thing, power down your computer the correct way. Make sure it's off and unplugged from your charger. We're then going to flip the computer over to access our bottom case screws. Now you have a total of 10 screws, 4 along the bottom here of my screen, 4 along the top of my screen, and then 1 on either side, left and right towards the middle. After that, this little panel here, you're going to flip it up. There's going to be a little groove right here. You're going to put a little flat metal pry tool in there, pop this panel up, and there'll be a screw in this corner and a screw in this corner as well to take up this bottom case. After all the screws have been removed, you're going to take a small flat pry tool. I suggest a plastic pry tool as it will scratch your computer far less than a metal one will. You're going to go across the seam of the bottom case and pry it up from the computer. It's probably best to start from the top corner of my screen here or here near your hinge covers. And if you get stuck at a certain area, leave it, go to the other side and continue in the other direction. Last thing to shout out about this, make sure you don't put the pry tool too far in. There are internal components near the edge. You could damage something. Just keep the pry tool right on the edge and slowly pop that bottom case up. After the bottom case has been removed, this is what you're looking at for the inside of your computer. Now, as a general computer repair side note, whenever I'm working on a computer in my shop, I have it sitting on an anti-static mat. Either that or an anti-static bracelet are great ideas to use to avoid damaging anything in your computer when you're working on it. I will have a link above, also below in the description. It'll take you to a list of all the supplies and tools that I use in my shop, along with some recommended accessories. Now, the plug to your battery is right here in the top right-hand corner of your battery. Now, this goes for any cables or any wires in any computer that you work on. Try never pulling on the actual wires. If at all possible, try to just manipulate that plug. And as you can see here, there's a little lip on that plug right there, a little one on the right. If you can use a small flat pry tool, you may be able to wiggle that out without pulling on these wires. If you do need to pull on the wires, grip all of them and very slowly, gently wiggle that plug out. You want to be very careful when pulling on wires in a computer. To remove the battery, you see this little notation here, M2X4. Those are M2 screws times 4 of them. So there's 2 of them right here near the arrows, and then 2 down here near the arrows. That's how you would unplug your battery. Now, to replace this battery, you're looking at a 56 watt, 11.4 volt battery. If you're looking for a replacement on your own, the part number for this battery is RRCGW. I'll have all that information below in the description. I'll also have a link above and below in the description. It'll be a list of all the replacement and upgrade parts for this specific model computer, and I'll have a battery replacement option in that list. If you're here because your computer is not turning on, it's showing no signs of life or very little signs of life, it is possible that your battery's bad and needs to be replaced, but there also could be other possible reasons why your computer is not turning on. If you are looking to troubleshoot why your computer is not turning on, I will have a link below in the description. It'll be a video tutorial showing you how to troubleshoot that problem in a laptop computer. Now, this is your hard drive over here, bottom left of my screen. It's sitting inside a hard drive caddy, which is very typical in a laptop. This keeps the hard drive in place, stops it from shifting. So there are 4 screws here, 1 in this corner, 1 in this corner, 1 in this corner, and 1 in that corner. That's holding down the caddy. So you would unscrew those 4 screws, take this metal caddy off and out of there, and the hard drive plugs in right here. There's a cable with a SATA port, SATA, that plugs into the hard drive here and snaps onto the motherboard here. So you would pull it out of this port to unplug the hard drive. If you were going for this cable, you would grab this black pull tab and just pull that straight up and off of your motherboard to unhook it. After getting the hard drive out, there are still 2 little rubber caddies on either side, the long way here and the long way here. Those just peel off. Again, that's to make sure that this thing really sets in there nice and tight and doesn't move. but that's how you would release the hard drive. If you're looking to replace or upgrade it, this is a 2.5-inch hard drive, SATA drive as mentioned earlier, SATA. So you would look for that kind of hard drive to replace it with. Most of you stock will have either a 256 gigabyte drive or a 500 gigabyte drive. There will be a list below in the description with all of the upgrade and replacement parts for this specific model computer. I'll try to have several options in there. I'll try to have a 500 gigabyte option and a terabyte option if you guys are looking to upgrade this. Also, a cool thing about this is you can get a solid state drive in here as well. They make solid state drives in this casing, a 2.5-inch SATA drive, but it's a solid state drive. Those are faster and they typically break less often than a hard drive does. So I'll also include a couple options for that. Again, 500 gigabyte and 1 terabyte. If you're really looking to upgrade your storage, maybe you notice right here above the hard drive location, there's an M.2 solid state drive port. So that's kind of a cool feature of this laptop is you can really upgrade your storage right there. To get the solid state drive in, you would just plug it into this port right here and you would take a single screw and screw it down there. And that's how you would insert that solid state drive. So in that link I told you about, I will also include a couple options up here for an M.2 solid state drive. And I'll put a few different options, maybe a 256 gig, a 500 and a terabyte. What some people do, if you don't want to spend a lot of money upgrading, is they'll put a small solid state drive in, they'll run their operating system on that drive, and then the cheaper, larger hard drive, they just use as storage. So that's one strategy you can go with your computer. If you are replacing or upgrading your storage, you most likely are going to need to install an operating system onto the new storage device, your hard drive or solid state drive. So I will have 2 more links below in the description. One will show you how to install Windows 10 onto a Dell laptop. The other will show you how to install Windows 11 onto a Dell laptop. This is your RAM right here. You have 2 RAM ports side by side. The way that the RAM works is it's held in by these spring-loaded metal arms, one on either side of the RAM stick. To release the RAM stick, you will gently pry these arms apart away from the RAM stick. It will then release, and sometimes it'll even pop up a little bit so you can slide it out of this port right here. And then to put it back in, as you notice, there's a long side to the RAM stick and a short side to that port. So you can't plug it in upside down. It can only go in one way. And then after you get it in, make sure it's nice and flush. This gold section here is nice and straight. And then just press down in the center of the RAM. Those arms will snap onto it and secure it in place. Now the RAM for this computer, you're looking at DDR4 RAM. The RAM that was in it was PC4-2133P. I'll have all this information below in the description too if you're looking for replacement or upgrade RAM yourself. But I'll also have a few different RAM options below in that link with all the upgrade and replacement parts for this model computer. I believe this computer has a max RAM of 32 gigabytes, which would mean that you could max it out with 2 16 gigabyte sticks, 1 in each port. Most of you will only have an 8 gigabyte stick stock in this computer, so replacing that with a 16 gigabyte or putting 2 16 gigabytes in should give you a lot more speed in this computer. That should be a really nice upgrade. So again, I'll try to have several options. I'll try to have an 8 gigabyte replacement option if you guys are just looking to replace a bad stick and you want to go ultra cheap. I'll also have a single 16 gigabyte stick if you're looking for an upgrade, but not necessarily maxing it out. And I'll also include a 32 gigabyte set if you want to completely max out your RAM. Your speakers are down bottom of my screen. You got this one here towards the left of the screen, this one here towards the right. Now each speaker is held down by 2 screws. You'll see there's little pink reddish rubber washers on those screws for sound insulation. So those are the screws you take off to get your speakers out. Now this speaker towards the left of my screen does not plug into the motherboard anywhere. It runs by a wire through here to this speaker. And then this speaker plugs into the motherboard. You'll see the wire coming up here, threaded under there, and it comes around the motherboard, plugs in right here in the bottom right corner of the motherboard. That plugs directly in 90 degree angle from the top of the motherboard. So to get that out, you would pull it directly up and out of that port. But again, keep in mind, these wires are even more fragile than the battery wires. So please don't pull on that wire. You can use your fingernails or a pry tool to pull that out of the port there. Another note, if you're doing these speakers, if you are replacing these, please make sure that they're exactly run the way you see it here. If they're not threaded correctly, when you put your bottom case back on, it could pinch those wires and damage your speakers. I will also have a link below in the description. It'll have a list of replacement and upgrade parts for this specific model computer. I'll try to have some speakers in there. If you're having audio issues, sound issues, if the sound's too low, if it's coming and going on various software, their speakers could be bad. They could need to be replaced, but it also could be a driver or system issue. So below in the description, I will have a video tutorial link showing you how to make sure all your drivers are correct and up to date to rule that out before getting into your computer to do an extensive physical repair like this. Your Wi-Fi card is right up here, top left of my screen. There's one single screw right on top that's holding down this metal bracket. After you take that screw out, it will release the Wi-Fi card. You can then pull it out of this port right there. And all you'll have left are these antenna wire, the black and white antenna wire that run down through this hinge assembly, and they snap onto your Wi-Fi card. So those are just snaps, not plugs. You can just pull those right off of the Wi-Fi card. And to put those back on the Wi-Fi card, they do need to be at a perfect 90-degree angle to get snapped back on. They won't snap back on securely unless they're at that right angle. Also, be aware that you are strong enough to damage those clips. If it's at the wrong angle and you just push really hard to get it on, you can damage them. So go nice and easy, go slow. It may take a little bit if you're not used to it, but you can get those antenna wire back on. There'll also be another link below in the description. It'll be a list of all the various replacement and upgrade parts for this specific model computer. I'll try to have a couple different Wi-Fi replacement options in that list. If you're having Wi-Fi issues, if your computer's not reading any available networks, it could be that your Wi-Fi card is bad and needs to be replaced, but it also could be a driver or software issue. Before you open the computer up and attempt this kind of repair, there's a video link below in the description. It'll be a video tutorial showing you how to troubleshoot if your computer's not seeing any Wi-Fi, because again, it could save you some time having to get in here if it's an easy driver fix. Your heatsink, your fan assembly, it's this whole thing up here. You got two fans and then a heatsink that runs over your CPU and GPU area. So there are quite a few screws that you need to undo to get at your fan and your heatsink. If you're just trying to get your fans out, there's a screw here in the corner of the fan and then down here in the left corner. Same thing on the left-hand side. There's only two screws, here and here. And then the fans themselves plug into the motherboard here for the right and here for the left. Now, these are very fragile wires. They're more fragile even than the battery wire. So definitely don't pull on the wires to unplug these. As you can see on your computer, there's a ribbing on either side, a little grip on the left and right there, on the top and bottom here. So you can use a pry tool, your fingernails. You should be able to wiggle that out of the port without pulling on that wire. After you get those fans out, you'll be able to clean them out, blow them out, whatever you're here to do, replace them if you need to. If you're trying to get at your heatsink assembly, there's a few more screws. So you have these two screws right here, these two screws in the middle, and these two screws on the left end. After that happens, you'll be able to get your heatsink assembly up, clean that out. Keep in mind, if you are taking up your heatsink assembly, you will need to reapply thermal paste. Thermal paste doesn't like it when it reacts to air, and then you lock that air in. So if you are taking this up for any reason, most likely that's why you're actually here, you definitely want to reapply thermal paste. I will have a video link above, also below in the description. It'll be a tutorial showing you how you can reapply thermal paste. You definitely want to clean all the old stuff off before you reapply new thermal paste. You don't want to apply too much thermal paste. If you do, it could have a reverse effect. It could lock heat in instead of facilitating its transport out. And the last thing to shout out is not all thermal paste is created equal. The cheap stuff is cheap. The more expensive stuff will do a better job at transporting heat out. So in that link I told you about with all the repair tools and supplies, I'll have a couple different thermal cooling paste options. One will be on the cheaper side. One will be a little more quality. So you guys can decide which one you want to use. And if you are looking to replace these components or any other components in this model computer, there will be another link below in the description. It'll be a list of replacement and upgrade parts for this specific model. And I'll try to have some fan options in there because those do break from time to time. So I'll try to find you a compatible replacement. And if I can, I'll have it in that list. We are going to have to remove pretty much everything else to get at your keyboard. So after we've removed the battery, the hard drive, the heatsink and fans, and all these components, we need to unplug everything that's left in the computer. So you're talking about these ribbon cables down here, these two ribbon cables. This plug right here, you undo this single black screw, take this metal bracket off. You can unplug that LCD cable, unplug this cable here. Your speaker cable runs right here. It's hard to see on the screen, but you'll see it in your computer. That pulls up and off, directly up, 90-degree angle, out of the computer, off the motherboard for your speaker wire. Be careful when unplugging ribbon cables like these. I'll explain how these work. The way these clips work, they're very, very fragile. This one is a white port with a black clip. This one is a gray black port with a white clip. They both work the same way. So the black clip here and the white clip there, they open and close like a book cover. The hinges are on top. It opens from the bottom. You would insert a very small, very flat pry tool from the bottom under that clip very gently and pop it up. Then you can slide the ribbon cables out. And then you would put it back down so it doesn't get caught on anything. These are very fragile, these clips. If you break them, you probably won't be able to find a replacement. So go very slow, be very careful, don't break those. And just go around your motherboard, try to find anything that needs to be unplugged, unclipped, and then we're gonna start unscrewing the screws to get your motherboard out. So you're gonna have these two screws here near the left, this in the bottom corner of the motherboard, and you're gonna see white little triangles or arrows to all the motherboard screws. So that can help as you're going through your motherboards on your computer projects. That can help find your screws. Get these two here, these two in the top middle. Again, you've got to unscrew that to take your LCD cable up. And then these three screws down here need to come off. Once you get your motherboard up, here is your keyboard underneath. A ton of screws keeping this thing down. Horrible design. I'm glad they don't do this anymore. Makes no sense, but you got to take a ton of screws up to get this keyboard out. So these are all the screws that need to come up. You get all these along the edges here. These two you have to get underneath the yellow tape. These go all along here, all these screws. And then these you have to peel up with a small flat pry tool, peel up that little black flap and you'll access these screws. But once you get these 1,000 screws up, then you'll be able to access your keyboard. You'll be able to remove your keyboard. In the link below I told you about with all the replacement and upgrade parts for this model computer, I will try to include a keyboard replacement if you guys are looking for help with that. So that's the video. I hope it was helpful. Please feel free to subscribe if you enjoy DIY computer content like this, but also if you just want to keep me on hand to answer any of your computer questions. I do try to answer all questions and comments at least a couple times a day. But make sure you do check out the FAQs below in the description. It could save you some time getting an answer to commonly asked questions. So thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you on my next video.